The biggest thing I should have been doing for years in the cattle business is buying better genetics. I always told myself I couldn't afford those caliber bulls. You can't afford not to have those caliber bulls. Emmy's family has been breeding high quality, purebred, registered cattle for years. I thought about asking her father, the issue she affectionately refers to as the old crow, to speak today. When I first went over, I drove down the driveway and ran into Lee and introduced myself and said, I'd like to lease a bull. He looked at me and said, we don't do any of that loaning and leasing bullshit. We sell cattle. I said, okay, apparently I'm going to buy a bull. So we began to look around the farm and look at some of his bulls, and I said, well, can you put some prices on some of them? He said, you can't afford any of these bulls. We imported semen from New Zealand to breed our best cattle. I said, well, do you mind showing me something that I can afford? He says, we're going to go over to Emmy. She'll sell you a bull. And that was one of the best things I ever did, was brought a registered thoroughbred bull. Well, you may not understand cattle, but I'm pretty sure you understand numbers. I spent $2,500 for that bull, and we got a lot of good offspring out of it. If you know me or know much about the cattle business, you will know that my daughter refers to me as the chief of acquisitions, and I call her the bank. She's the only loan officer that never tells me no. So when I need money, I sell my cattle to my daughter, because if you teach your kids to work, they can always bail you out financially. I sold that $2,500 bull to Hannah for $2,000, and I buy a lot of hay. I fed said bull for her for a couple of years, and then this fall, her $2,000 investment, she sold it for $5,000. And if you spend money on good cattle, you will get good offspring, and then you will have a saleable product when you're done with that animal. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Emmy DeCoursey. She owns and is part of Deco Cattle Company. She owns Silver Sky Murray Grays. Roughly, her and father own about 140 head of cattle, and they sell bulls in national online bull sales. They've got a lot of good genetics and good cattle. Emmy?
I am 45 years old, 6th generation farm girl, 3rd generation as a professional cattle woman, which is very different than being in the farming industry. Growing up in memory, there was no one like the barn owner. I waited for her as a kid and felt a comfort when she appeared. She wasn't perfect, but she was friendly, warm, and her existence brought the calm to the barn. Mom's home. Our family heritage is a lot of things that don't or just barely exist now. Pie business used to be thriving. Always skin calves right there in the farmyard. It didn't make it. Take the hide off. Down the road we'd go. $5-10. Beef hides, $25 even in 1999. Deer hides. I can remember when I first got started in that business. $15 for a good buck hide. You was excited. When I was in high school, we still did 400 hides a year. Just deer. Don't exist anymore. Horse business. We were in the area of taking animals, horse flesh to slaughter. We did that. Those facilities were open, and we handled and wrangled wild animals all over the countryside here. And we specialize in the handling of down and crippled cows, which of course the government outlawed a long time ago, which I have mixed feelings on that. So as a young girl, we were out there meeting families and experiencing things, and life is wild. There's so many things you can talk about in the cattle business today, modern day genetics, where the future's heading to, a lot of things that don't even fit in the realm of what I am interested in, honestly. They're just too far out there for me. So I kind of faded back to where I felt that my place was. at the heart of the farm. Cows, the heritage, longevity. My part, as history had it, was to feel the beats of the earth and just go with it. And it seems like starting your own business is an easy thing to do. But being part of a sacrifice, committing absolutely everything that you make into the preservation so you can continue on for generations ahead. It seems simple. Start by what's necessary, then you're doing what's possible, and suddenly you are doing the impossible. Sacrifice is a woman's job. Women just have been taken off. A lot of gals just hit the ground running, and it's the women these last 20, 25 years that have been the ones that have the interest in the continuance of the farm. I spent a lot of time with old maids. I spent a lot of time on the milking stools, milking cows by hand, listening to the stories of the old woman that would say they were put to the score. And that was always something, as they call it, sheer will. Where there's a will, there's a way. In the making of great things, there's also often a woman that steps up and stands there and no one noticed. She didn't put herself ahead. She was comfortable staying right there. It's from them type of gals that the best is made. Like Penny Tierney, when she stepped up to the plate for her pops, when he went down and the mare was bred to Bold Ruler. When the foal was born and she stepped up there with all these possibilities, she said, we didn't make Secretariat. Secretariat made us. And that's the truth of it. Once in a while, after great faith, sometimes something special presents itself. It is then that our eyes become tested. You can write about what it's like to be the life of a miracle, what it felt like to know the animal, that creature of God that is better than you and will ever be. Because you had said nothing is perfect. And nothing is perfect. But as a cow breeder, God, sometimes there are things that come along your way that you can't change one thing about them. I mean, you've hit it right on the head. Everything you wanted is right in front of you. It is only that thought of realization when we feel the true gift. We are not the owners of these farms. We are the shepherds. It's us that's here as the sheep. We want to hold these family farms. We got to find some way to do that. And there's always somebody that stands off in the back that is the person that stands beside the fellas that are getting it done. And as gals, we don't need to be ashamed of that. We don't need to be called up above and mentioned for it. The impact. Seldom in life is the greatness of your vision brought to light. Most haven't. The patience, the sight. But when you don't miss it, and every waking moment is connected to the betterment, the impact on your life changes forever. And you stand there and you remember. Your mind goes back to those moments, those glories, the despair. You never quit hearing them. You never quit waiting for them. In your mind's eye, you see that greatness you worked for 30, 40, 60 years. And life, it goes by so fast. When you're breeding cows and you're doing it from the ground up, which is what we wanted to do because we like to make our own, that takes time. And when you're talking about cows, you're talking about 10 or 15 years to breed what it is that you're looking for, because you're breeding 100 head. Now, I didn't have the funds for that. I stepped up from the back and stepped in and filled in where my family had a place for me. It takes years, just years, 10, 15 to even begin to see what you're looking for, and then 10 or 15 years on the bottom, picking and choosing, fighting for every life's breath, fighting. Every moment is hard, every long minute awaited accomplishment hard. It doesn't just happen. Lots of tears, lots of wondering why. And then those moments of the remembering come back in. You know, that cow that you were able to breed yourself, that when she hit the rail, she hung at 60%. How does it get any better? You just continuously go back and you judge yourself. You put yourself there. Those memories, those wins come ahead. Because there's a big difference between 60 and 42, 52. It is the ability to remember that makes you become different when you're starting on your own. Because it isn't about the money, because we don't make none. I mean, you've seen these women everywhere. You've seen them every farm sale you used to go to and do. You'd wait for that woman to come around the corner. She's standing there because she's giving back. She's not standing there because she's taking away from. There's nothing fancy about being the old farm girl. I don't have extra money to spend to buy a whole bunch of fancy stuff. You know, hair and clothes, they don't come first. It's you get up and go every single day, whether you want to or not. It's whatever task is set in front of you that you head for. And a lot of those tasks are sitting right beside that, whether it's your dad, your brother, your man. But you're sitting right beside them. You are their right hand, and dang it, gals, you're proud of it. And I mean that. Money, time, freedom, they don't exist, only effort. You stand there every day because you know they're waiting, these cows. You connected to the herd, to the mind. What that animal knows, you know her as well as she knows you. Important moments prove that. A cow comes in, feels it's her time. She puts herself right directly in front of you. Eye contact, I'm ready. Before she even shows sign that there's going to be a calf to come. There might be a problem there. She comes to you, makes that connection. You better pay attention and put her where you can help her out real quick. Because it could take 8-10 hours, but you may have a situation that's arise there that she can tell you before you do. That's part of being a farm girl. When a cow is struggling, freshening, she lays there and she waits for you. It takes years to put these genetics into what you're breeding for yourself. But that's what you get. You must recognize your moment. You work together because you're only half of the legacy. Your moments can be great ones, small in most of mind's eye. Most often the woman of the farm that you come into contact with, you know, she's the caregiver, the caretaker, the mother, the life's breath of the farm, and the most thankless physical position out there. You just expect her to be there. Well, she's going to be there. Being the old steady, you're not without your dignity, but the moments are modest ones. You get up in the morning, nothing fancy, hair, clothes, they don't hold. You're just part of the crew. Infinitely reliable. Never a moment do you miss. There's so many different parts of all the years that have been sacrificed to build this herd of cows that we've been working on well over 20 years. And we started it so that we could continue the heritage and legacy in our small family. We didn't want that to be over with. So we picked something special and we started with it. And we just happened to think that Murray Gray was the way to go. We'd heard about it back in the 80s, but didn't understand it because everybody back then, boy, you pushed hard. You put the feed rate to stuff and you just produce. Anything that was completely grass-based was kind of like not, does that hold together? A lot of people's complaints were when you got a grass-fed beef, you couldn't even mold it into a burger. It just simply fall apart on top of the grill. Those were the simpler things for me. I just wanted to get in there and breed a herd of cows, I wanted to stand in there at 2 in the morning and pull 100-pound calves out, get them going, get them started, and live in the longevity of your moments. Because we have many cows that make it 14 to 17 years old, no problem. And the most important thing is when they're finished, their carcass is not. Because we have bred them specifically through all the years to hold that marbling, hold the genetic pass in the meat, so you have something after value. How you choose to make that cut, sometimes they're just good for, this is my sausage and burger animal here. But some of them babies come through and they will satisfy the king and queen's dinner plate. You just have to be able, as a cattle woman, as the old farm girl, to tell which way you're going and what you got. I think the team is the most important thing. There's got to be a boss. Where I come from, you don't argue with boss. You just do your part. And everybody tries to walk in the same direction together. When I grew up, that's the way it was. The woman took care of all your billing, all your accountant work, everything you could have needed done. The old farm girl, boy, she had that done. And if the fella didn't want to include her in that, it was another gal that did it. It was always your right hand steady that sits there smiling and doesn't have much to say other than always ready to help. So when we got started here and I was thinking of the youth that may be here, I wanted to make sure that I didn't sugarcoat what it means to be the old reliable. You are the one that takes the hits, but it's all for the preservation of the future. You can sell your family farm and spend all the money. It don't take long. You see it all the time. What takes long is to keep it going. To find a niche, something you can do to work on to continue in your life. And you have to pull tricks out of the hat frequently because she don't come easy. I think our timing was all right because here we are, 2026, in the absolute peak of the cattle business. There has never been anything like this ever in the cattle business. And here we are, 20-some years in with our Murray Gray breeding. I get a little lost for words sometimes because there's such a huge, vast array in the cattle business. Lots of questions could come my way. I've done a lot of stuff just standing there as my dad's best girl. I sacrificed everything to do it. Did not hold the marriage. I had 2 children that I took on my own and kept them going, worked right beside me as tiny infants. Everything just for this moment now. And so as we keep going and the mornings seem long and tired, I'm just gonna keep going because that's what courage is. And for all the girls or the young men that would sit here and not know where their place was or if it mattered, that's something you have to reach back into yourself and ask. What is it most important in your life? What have you done that has set that mark aside that you have contributed to the health and the continuance of your family's farm?
I brought this poster in here that I had given to my grandma.
It's from 1979. And these gals here, they come in all different hair colors, all different sizes and shapes. But the one thing that stands true is how much they've contributed to the continuance of the family farm. And sometimes that means you're the gal that stands there and allows your elders to live the life that they want to, and that's who you are.